Hello everyone and welcome back to our distance learning program. Right now you are looking at the slideshow lesson, and this is the lesson that we are going to study for the first sessions today. So for the first session, the lesson we will study is the grammar lesson that is extracted from the blueprint 4. And in the lesson 5, you have studied about the directions of how to cook special food with broccoli and chickens. And there are another important point, which is the first conditionals that I am going to cover in this video. So if you want to find the lesson on your books, you can open your blueprint books to page 73. So in this video today, you will be able to recognize the first conditionals by learning its structures. And you will be able to use the first conditionals in your writing and in your speaking as well when you learn how to use the first conditionals. Last but not least, there will be a short exercise practice to reinforce your understanding about the structure and the use of the first conditionals. So without any further ado, let's look at the concept of the first conditionals. So in this conversation, these two girls, they are using the first conditional in their conversations. So let's read this conversation. Come on, Rachel. If we hurry, we will catch the 9:30 bus. There's no rush, is there? If we miss it, there will be another one in 15 minutes, right? So the structure that is printed in bold, these are the first conditionals. So again, we have covered the zero conditionals, the form and the usage already. And again, no matter what conditional it is, whether it is zero conditional, first conditional, third conditionals, or second conditional, the form are generally the same. It follows the same structure, which have the if clause followed by the main clause, right? So in this first conditional situation right here, it is the same. We have if clause plus the main clause, but in a different tense. So in this conversation, they use the first conditional. We all know that. But what can we infer from this conversations? Right, we can say that both girls, they are talking about possible future actions. Here, they may catch the bus or they may miss it. So this is the possible future action. And the possibility are generally very high, right? Compared to the zero conditional, which talk about the facts, this one generally refer to the possible future actions. That is why in the main clause, they use the future simple tense. Right, so now look at the structure of the first conditionals. So again, we have three main parts. We have the if plus the present simple, which is the if clause, and then we have the main clause, which use the future simple verb will, or in the negative form, once. So if you look at the example here, we are hurry. If we are hurry, we will catch the bus. If we missed it, there will be another one. If it doesn't rain, we will be having a picnic, right? So it follows the same structure right here. And one important point to remember is never ever try to use the future simple, which is will, in the if clause. Because when we talk about the condition that introduced by the word if, generally it is in the present form. There will be no if clause in the future forms. So keep this in mind. Another important aspect of the structure of first conditional, you can also use another tense besides present simple. So you can use present continuous or the present perfect in the if clause. And again, keep in mind you can only use the present tense, present simple, present continuous, or present perfect in the if clause. There is no future tense. Again, the main clause often has will, right, which express the future possibility. But you can use another modal verb. So you may remember the modal verb that we have learned from another lesson. Those modal verbs, we have the word might or should, which can express the future possibility, which is future predictions. The if clause only comes first, but it can come after the main clause. And again, the position of if clause and the main clause, it can reverse. You can use the if clause at the beginning of the sentence, or you can start your conditional sentence with the main clause. So pay attention to the comma when you reverse this order. So if you introduce your sentence with the if clause or the conditional sentence, you need to use comma at the end of the if clause. However, if you introduce your sentence with the main clause, there is no comma needed in this conditional sentence, right? So let's move on to our second point, which is the usage of the first conditional. Again, from the very beginning of the lesson, we said that first conditional can be used to talk about future possibilities, right? Something that is possible to happen in the future. And those possibility is very high, right? However, there are another use of the first conditional. So you can use first conditional structure in offer and suggestion. If you offer some things to somebody or you give suggestion to somebody, you can use this structure as well. For example, if you need a ticket, I can get you once, which means you want to offer some things to somebody. If you feel like seeing the site, we can take a bus tour, which is the suggestions. Another one, we can also use the first conditional structure in warning and threat. Okay, if you go on like this, you will make yourself ill, which is warnings. If you don't apologize, I'll never speak to you, which is the threat. So the structure of the first conditional you can use to express the future possibility, to offer or give suggestion, and you can also use to express your warning and threat to somebody. All right, so before ending this lessons, there are two more points. We have this picture, which is well represents the first conditional sentence, and the last one, which is the practice. So to recap what we have discussed so far, here is a good representation of the first conditional. So we have two main parts, which is the if clause, or we can call it the condition clause, which is introduced or start with the word if. And we have another main clause or the result clause. So if plus present simple plus future tense with will and once. So if you look at the example here, if I have money, I will buy a modern cell phone, which is the condition if I have money. So in Khmer ប្រសិនបើខ្ញុំមានលុយខ្ញុំនឹងទិញទូរស័ព្ទដៃទំនើប right? So this is all about the conditional sentence, because we have the condition sentence and the result of those conditions. And remember, important point for the structure, we use the present tense in the if clause and future tense in the main clause. So now let's look at some of these practice exercise here. So there are three sentences. Let's start with the first one. If you some age, I some coffee. So again, in the if clause, you cannot use future tense. So clearly, the correct answer is letter B. If you cook some egg, I will make some coffee. Second sentence, my brother his car this afternoon. So here, this sentence is the conditional sentence, but it starts with the main clause. So in the main clause, you use future simple with the word will. So my brother will wash his car this afternoon if he has enough time. The last one, James some books if he to the library. So James, this part of the sentence is the main clause, and you use the main clause with future simple will. So James will borrow some books if he goes to the library. Okay, everyone. So that's it for our first video lesson about the first conditional. Now you are able to recognize the first conditional and be able to distinguish it between the first and zero conditionals. And that's it for our first video lesson. Thank you very much for your paying attention. And now enjoy your short break, and we will meet each other again in the second session.